Well, thank you everybody for coming. Obviously, we are out front of the target location at Morse Crossing at Easton shopping area. Um, Before I go any further, obviously this is an active and ongoing scene behind me, so there are a lot of things that we still are unsure and unclear about at this moment. So there are going to be a lot of questions I know that people are going to have that we may not be able to answer, but we're going to try our best to answer as many questions as we can specific to this incident. But again, as you can see behind me, this is an active, ongoing scene, and we're trying to process it as quickly and as thoroughly as we can. So today at 11:45 a.m., Columbus Police was dispatched specifically to this location on reports of shots fired. Initially, when the call came in, it was believed that the shots were fired from inside the location, but we have learned since then that this entire incident did take place exclusively outside of the store. So again, I want to reiterate, this entire incident happened outside of the target. So none of the interaction or any of this incident specific to the shots fired happened inside. This was all outside. So again, we were dispatched here at 11:45 a.m. We got here very quickly, and medics arrived at 11:51 and did their initial assessment. And unfortunately, the victim succumbed to injuries from apparent gunshot wounds, and the medics pronounced that victim at 11:52 a.m. At this time, the identity of the victim is unknown. As you can see, again, behind us, the scene is still being processed, and medics were not able to transport the victim, so we're trying to be very respectful of the victim's family, and until we actually know who that victim is, unfortunately, we can't say who it is because we're still working on that. But we want to make it clear, one of the main reasons for not transporting the victim was, unfortunately, he had succumbed to those injuries, and at that point the most important thing becomes preservation of the scene and the scene integrity, to try to gather as much evidence as we possibly can to figure out who done such a heinous act to this victim. So like I said, we don't have very many details at this point. One other thing that we've gathered so far, this does appear to be an incident that is isolated specific to the two incidents, the two people involved. So this was not a robbery attempt. This does not appear to be anything where the general public at large has reason to panic. This all occurred very, very quickly and rapidly. Detectives are processing everything. They're reviewing evidence, whether it's video that was captured, some witnesses that were at the scene, including an off-duty officer from another agency who could be very instrumental later down the line in helping assist us in trying to catch who this individual was. So again, there's not much more we can go with, but I'll try to answer questions. But lastly, we cannot confirm that if it was or was not a target employee specific, but we do know that it was not an employee that was working today. So we don't know that. Again, it's so early, but we do know that it is not an employee who was scheduled to work today. So if you have a loved one out there who works at this specific target location, we can tell you that this victim was not a target employee who was scheduled to work today. So with that, I'll try to answer as many questions as I can.
Sergeant, what's the relationship between the two people, and were there shots exchanged or just one person doing the shooting?
It appears that only one person engaged in the shooting. We do not know what the nature of their relationship is, but this was a one-sided incident in terms of shots being fired.
Are you looking for a vehicle right now that might have been here at the scene that might have the suspect in it?
The vehicle that we believe in question to this incident was a dark colored, we believe, Chevy Impala. So a darker color, either dark blue, possibly black, later model Impala right now. We don't have the specific license plate information, but if that becomes available, we will put that out publicly to try to assist us in capturing this person.
Did you confirm, is this victim a man, and are you looking for a man or a woman?
It is a man, and the suspect, the victim is a man, or male, excuse me, and it appears that the suspect was also a male, darker skinned victim, unknown race.
Did this appear to be an altercation, or did the suspect just walk up to the victim and fire a weapon?
Well, they're still investigating all of that, but from the initial reports, it looks like that the suspect came up and fired shots without any provocation or any type of altercation between the two.
Have you had an opportunity to see surveillance video, and what does that show?
So I have personally not been able to see that, but the investigators are working with Target Security and any other additional footage from the businesses around the area to capture any and all evidence that we can use to solve this case, but they're still in process of reviewing that right now.
This would be, number-wise, this would be the record-tying homicide. Is that correct? Can you give me the number and talk about that?
Well, we're still working through the numbers, so I don't have that specifically. To be honest, I try not to think about the numbers so much and whether it's record tying this or that, because I've said it many times over as a lifelong resident of this city. It's really hard for me to do this job sometimes, I'll be honest. I mean, most of the time when people see me, it's always delivering bad news, and just to see another person lying dead in a street senselessly is really frustrating, because I know we are working hard at CPD to try to prevent as much violence as we possibly can, specifically homicides, because every single victim has family, and these families are going to grieve, and they're going to have to live with this for the rest of their life. So the numbers are unfortunately what they are, but those numbers are also names. They're also people, and just my heart goes out to the families of all of these victims of too many homicides that are happening in Columbus.
Talk about, it's broad daylight, and there were a lot of people around here shopping for everyday items. Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a Monday. It's nice out. The sun is shining. I feel like we were just at another shopping area mall just a few months back when the weather was starting to turn, and we talked about back then the importance of finding a way to curb the violence in the city, because if you can't even feel safe in a public space, specifically at a shopping area in broad daylight, early in the morning, late afternoon, then we have bigger problems on our hands that we need to figure out a way. But this is another opportunity that we at CPD always talk about, that we can't police our way out of it, right? We always talk about all these things. We need all these activists that are out in the community that say they are against all the violence to step up. We need our pastors to step up. We need youth mentors to step up. We need everybody, because clearly just policing alone is not enough. So we need everybody who has a stake in this community to step up and do their job to try to prevent this from happening again.
What can you tell us about the involvement of the off-duty officer? You know, did he try to help? I noticed that he was armed.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the exact details on what that off-duty officer did exactly, but I do know that he was a witness to some degree to this incident and will be more than helpful in our investigation.
Will the Target be closed for the rest of the day?
So at this point, that'll be up to the Target business themselves, whether or not they want to reopen. I can tell you, as far as our investigative purposes, we will be out here for quite a few hours, because again, we want to make sure we get this right. We understand that a victim is lying there in the street, and a lot of people would want us to get him up as quickly as we can. But unfortunately, we want to make sure that we preserve every piece of evidence that we possibly can. So with this situation being what it is, we will be out here for a couple hours processing this scene.